Hi there BookTube, it's Eleanor here, and today I just wanted to come and talk to you about my plans for Nonfiction November. So for this month, for the month of November, I'm going to be foregoing my Snakes and Ladders, because if you've watched my last month's Snakes and Ladders Picks My TBR, you'll know that it was a horrendously large one, and there are still some books that I want to get through from that. I also want to take part in Nonfiction November, so I have a lot of non-fiction books I want to get through, and there's also a bit of a secret TBR that I'm doing that I will come to you with a video about when I finish that. So I just wanted today to talk to you about the portion of my TBR that's going to be non-fiction. I've got quite a healthy, not read non-fiction stack, and I've got a massive stack here to tell you about, and there is no way that I'm getting through these. But these are all the ones that I'm going to be picking from my little pool of books. Nonfiction November is run by Olive from A Book Olive, and she always does these prompts. For a while now they've done different words. This time I think there's 4 different words that you can use to help you pick your books if you should wish. Now I'm sure that most of these books would probably fit into one of those prompts and I could wangle them in there, but I've just picked out the non-fiction that I want to read this month, and I'm just going to go for it and see how I feel. The first 2 books were recommended to me by a psychologist, a child psychologist, who recommended that I read these because if you've been watching this, you know that Matilda's been going through a few issues of anxiety and separation and things like that. The first one she recommended that I pick up is called The Tavistock Clinic's Understanding 6 to 7-Year-Olds by Corinne Aves. And apparently the Tavistock Clinic does these books for all sorts of age ranges, and this one's for 6 to 7-year-olds because she's just about to turn 7. So it's very thin, but I would like to pick this up and have a little look through it. And the other one that she recommended was this one, which is The Whole Brain Child, 12 Proven Strategies to Nurture Your Child's Developing Mind by Dr. Daniel J. Siegel and Dr. Tina Payne Bryson. So I will be picking that one up to have a look through and hopefully get a few practical ideas and tips, really. Yeah, just a bit of a helpful guide. So at some point in this month I'd like to be sort of picking up these and dipping in and out of them. Okay, well, if you've been watching, you'll know that I'm rather obsessed with true crime and things to do with crime, and I just find it fascinating. Criminals, criminal minds, crime scenes, yeah, I just find it really fascinating. I've got quite a few non-fiction books that I have picked up over the last few months that I would like to get to at least some of. The first one is Confessions of a Sociopath by Emmy Thomas. This is Emmy Thomas, who is writing under a pseudonym, who is a self-confessed sociopath, and she is, it says here, a high-functioning non-criminal sociopath, charismatic and successful, and this is talking about her life. She's talking about her life and how being a sociopath works in her everyday life, and what that looks like, because, you know, not every sociopath is a serial killer or a criminal. The next one I've got on my list I picked up at the Cheltenham Literature Festival, and that is My Life with Murderers, Behind Bars with the World's Most Violent Men. This is by David Wilson. He was one of the youngest prison governors and has spent a lot of time around various different murderers, and he talks about his time there. It's going to be riveting, I think. It's going to be interesting to see sort of the conversations he's had with people. So most of his working career has been spent around murderers, and so he gives us an insight in this book. Okay, also on that list of books is When the Dogs Don't Bark, A Forensic Scientist's Search for the Truth by Professor Angela Gallup. This again was a book I picked up in anticipation of seeing Professor Angela Gallup at the Cheltenham Literature Festival, which I did and which was brilliant. She was very interesting, talking about her work in forensic science and how she got into it, and this book will elaborate on that, including some of the high-profile cases and not high-profile cases she's worked character, and how I think technology has changed over the years, and what forensic scientists are able to do. A book that I've had sort of on the go but not really finished with for ages is The Killer Across the Table, from the authors of The Mindhunter. This is by Johnny Douglas and Mark Olshaker. If you've watched Mindhunter, the Netflix series, there is an original book called Mindhunter which that is based on, and this one is from criminal profiler, FBI criminal profiler John Douglas, but looks into the lives and crimes of 4 of the most complex killers. So I really think this is going to be a good one. A book that I'm partway through already that I'd like to finish is Savage Appetites: 4 True Stories of Women, Crime and Obsession by Rachel Monroe. I've read the first part of this, which talks about, oh now what's her name? I forget this every time. Frances Glessner Lee, that's the one, who was a sort of forensic miniaturist. She was, in the 1900s, she made these miniature crime scenes, almost sort of dollhouse size, with very intricate detail which they used for teaching crime scene investigation, and fascinating finding out more about her, and I want to finish this one finally. And the final one in this sort of theme is one I've just borrowed from the library, and that is The Secret Life of Bones, Their Origins, Evolution and Fate by Brian Switek. I thought this just sounded fascinating. It says the secret life of bones frames the history of our species through the importance of bone as instruments, jewellery, objects of worship and conquest, from the origins of religion through to the genesis of science until this very day. Brian Switek, an enthusiastic osteological raconteur, cuts through biology, history and culture to understand the meaning of what's inside us, what our bones tell us about who we are, where we came from and the legacies we leave behind. Okay, and then there is 4 others that I would like to potentially get to. So as I say, I'm not going to get to all of these, but I would like to try it. This one is Mahusive, but I just can't let that put me off. I really want to read this. It's called Blonde by Joyce Carol Oates. I love the cover of this, and as you can tell from the picture, this is the story of Norma Jean Baker, otherwise known as Marilyn Monroe, and I really want to read this, and I will not be put off by the number of pages. I love bees, I love books about bees, and so one book that has been calling to me is The Honey Bus, which is a memoir of lost courage and a girl saved by bees by Meredith May. This is such a beautifully designed book. It's got pictures in it, which I love. It's got pictures on the end papers, which I think is great. And it's the story of Meredith May, who at 5 years old was abandoned by both her parents. And Meredith discovered this rusted old bus where her grandpa kept bees, and it's about how that changed her life really, and I just think it's going to be interesting to see more and learn more about bees, but also about Meredith's life and what happened to her and how these bees helped her to change her life. A book that I've been seeing loads about and I'm hoping will be a hit for me, because this author has been hit and miss so far. I loved her first book. Second book I wasn't so keen on. This one, Will My Cat Eat My Eyeballs by Caitlin Doughty, is looks amazing. It's I believe questions that she has had from children since talking publicly about the afterlife and death and mortal death and death practices, and she's answering honestly big questions that have come from little people. So for example, one of the questions in here, I'm just opening to a random page, is, do bodies in the cemetery make the water we drink taste bad? And there's a really delightful picture there, and then it's no doubt going to go into telling us a little bit more about that, with Caitlin's really joyous, easy reading writing style and witty commentary, so I'm looking forward to that. And then the final one that I wanted to talk about is called How to Be a Good Creature, a memoir in 13 animals by Cy Montgomery and illustrated by Rebecca Green. I heard about this one on Olive's channel. I love Cy Montgomery's book The Soul of an Octopus. I didn't know this was out. This is, as it says, a memoir in 13 animals. I think it sounds brilliant. It's got deckled edges. There's like a chapter here called The Christmas Weasel, and I'm sure it's going to talk about Cy Montgomery's life more through these different animals, and I just can't wait. It just looks like a beautifully designed and magical book. So that is all the non-fiction books that I'm going to be picking from this month. I can't wait to finally pick some of these up. I've really got my fingers crossed that this is going to be the month full of 5-star reads. Non-fiction seems to be where the 5 stars are for me at the moment, so fingers crossed some, if not all of these, live up to that standard. Anyway, let me know if you've read any of these. Where should I start? Any that you've given 5 stars out of that pile? And as always, I keep saying in all my videos at the moment, recommend down in the comments below any 5-star reads that you've read, any non-fiction 5-star reads specifically for this one, because I'm adding them to a list to look at for special projects next year. Anyway, that's it from me, and I look forward to speaking to you soon. Bye for now, BookTube.